On today's show, Ben Pfeifer is back for part 2 of a 2-part conversation about the NBA draft, and it's coming up right now.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you here in mid-August. And today's podcast is brought to you by the folks at Monarch Money. Take control of your finances right now with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for half off your first year. I also want to encourage you at the top of the show, as I always do, to make Locked On Hawks your first listen each and every day. Check us out and subscribe to the show anywhere you find your podcast, and tell your friends about the episodes that you listen to and don't listen to. Just share the podcast with your friends and family as well. Today, I'll be joined once again by Ben Pfeifer covering the NBA draft. It's actually going to be a 2-part conversation. So part 1 is already available in this same podcast feed. So if you missed it, I recommend strongly beginning with part 1. Once you listen to that, come on back to part 2. And here we go with myself and Ben Pfeifer on the NBA draft. I do want to get to Boozer. And look, I will throw this to you first. The thing I keep seeing and hearing from people that are smart about Boozer is like the guy just wins everything everywhere he ever goes, and apparently like is a legendary competitive guy. Obviously, son of an NBA player, prominent NBA player, has a brother who's also going to Duke with him, who isn't quite the same level of prospect, but I want to ask about him later too. But I mean, I don't know. Cameron Boozer is a guy that I'm very intrigued by. I think that he's going to be a really good. He's like the rare. This is again my small informed take. He seems like a guy who's going to be like a very, very, very good college basketball player as a freshman, which is like not something that I always say. Like, there are prospects like Dybantsa, who I think is like, I get it, NBA wise, may not be like an awesome college player. He's going to be good, I'm sure. But like Boozer profiles to me as like a guy that's like a winning college player. Does that seem reasonable? Okay.
So I think Dybantsa probably will be too, but Boozer, sure, I think certainly profiles. I mean, there's kind of like two schools of thought with Boozer. One of them is like, as you kind of outlined, which is more where I align, like he just wins at every level and is a player who I think will continue to impact winning at every level. And then B, it's like, oh, he's not crazy athletic, and
and I've heard that too. Like people that want to knock him,
he's low ceiling guy. Which again, I just think is just like a misattribution of what we describe as ceiling. If there's a play, I think there are legit arguments against Cam Boozer. Like I'm definitely lower on Cam than I think like general draft Twitter. I think his defense is like a little concerning. I don't think he's a 5. And he's definitely mobile and fluid, but not for like a full-time wing in my opinion. So I'm curious, and he's like a good, not great shot blocker. I'm curious where he levels out on defense at Duke, but I mean, yeah, he really has won at every level. He won 15, 16, 17 U Peach Jam. And of course, part of that is because their program, Knight Riders Elite, had continuity. He had Caden Boozer, his twin brother, who's going to Duke's great prospect. We'll talk about him. Yeah. But he is just the kind of player who fits on good teams. He makes incredible plays with basketball as a passer. He's got a quick processor. He's an incredibly efficient scorer. Like that's the main thing with Boozer, just like incredibly efficient interior scorer. I mentioned earlier his incredible efficiency, 28 usage, which was more than AJ Dybantsa by like 0.1%, and his true shooting was 68.2. That is absolutely bonkers. And I really like how malleable and flexible Boozer is. Like earlier in his career, when he wasn't as strong, I think he was honestly playing a lot more on the perimeter. He'd run some more like isolations. But as he got later into his career, like he just became the most dominant post scorer in high school basketball because it worked. Like he was just sealing people off and easily scoring on steals and transition and post ups and drives. And he's also gone up as a spot up player. Like his spot up shooting. I was doing this research a while back, so this isn't fully updated with his last high school season, but 2022, his first UIBL season, he posted up 5.3% of his possessions. 2024, his last UIBL season, was 13.4% of his possessions.
That's a lot. That's a lot of post ups for a
non-center. And he's gone up in spot ups too, like 13% of his possessions, but just like an incredible interior scorer, great touch. His coordination, fluidity, strength for a guy of his size, pretty remarkable. I don't think he's like a special passer. he's a brilliant processor. He's so quick as a decision maker, and he's just one of those guys who's going to be a high assist turnover guy. Those kind of metrics are going to love him. He's going to make good decisions. He's not a highly like manipulative or creative or a guy who's like a plus as a primary passer like Darryn Peterson, I think is, even though they're probably similar level as passers overall. And then Boozer, I think, is an incredibly promising shooting prospect as well. I have his numbers right here. This is 70 EYBL and high school games. So he shot 36.4% on 275 threes in total, 38.9% on catch and shoots, 30% on off dribble threes, and 44.4% on pull-up mid-ranges. And just to compare that to Dybantsa, who I feel like sometimes is labeled as like a better shooting prospect, can be thought of as a better shooting prospect. Mm-hmm. In 96 games I did of him, we have 34.2% from three on 474 threes, 35.9% on catch and shoot, 31.5% on off dribble, and 35.4% on pull-up mid-range shooters. So though Dybantsa definitely has the volume edge, and that matters, Boozer has been an incredibly efficient shooter. And I think projects as, maybe not a guy who's jacking pull-up threes all game, but he can legit shoot off movement for a big. Like he can handle and just drop in pull-ups over people if they're backing off of him for sure. And I think he's going to develop into an incredibly good shooter. But yeah, he's not like the most incredible perimeter advantage creator. He has an incredible handle for a big, but for a wing, it's good, very maybe great even, but not like special. So I do think there's some, again, because like if he's not a plus defender, which I think he will be, I think he's too smart and strong. But like I could imagine at the very low ends, especially like in playoff series, him struggling to be so impactful. But
no, I mean, he's also, in what I've seen, I think he's going to be a 4 in the NBA. Like, that's not a knock.
He's just like an extremely different flavor of Cat. Like a incredible offensive big who I think will have defensive issues for very, very different reasons than Cat, but could have defensive issues and, is a great offensive player for, honestly, I think Cat in Minnesota was obviously, I think, the volume shooting I would never expect from Boozer, but I guess we never expected from Talons either. No, his role in New York, especially the way they use him in the playoffs, like a bunch of face-up driving, a bunch of high post stuff, some short roll stuff, like some pick and pops. I could see his role like mirroring a guy like that. Or Kevin Love's a comparison he gets a lot, which I think there's merit to as well. But I think he even has some advantages on Love at the same age. I have an old video on Prospect Love. He was sick, but I think you can argue that Boozer's maybe a more promising creator. But yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I'm sure people like that maybe are younger and might roll their eyes at Kevin Love. Kevin Love was a 5-time All-Star and was like a top 15 player in the league. Like, was really, 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 really good when he was actually in his prime. Not the current version of Kevin Love. That'd be fun, actually. Right. I think it's just the idea of like Kevin Love as one of these guys who, he's not a primary creator on a championship team, but he's someone who can, he's a guy who's getting MVP votes on the Wolves early in his career, and then he goes to a team where obviously he declined a little bit, but even early Cleveland, K-Love was a monster. And he's like, I'm going to scale down and win a title because, I'm versatile and I can do all that. And I think Boozer could definitely mirror that. And maybe it's not as flashy as like a guy who's driving championship level offense, but that's also just harder to attain. There's a few of those guys in the world at any given time. I mean, this is very simplistic, and I don't mean it to be all that I've ever heard about Boozer, what I've even seen on film that I've watched. Like, I think he's the kind of guy that's like going to prioritize winning. Like, and not everybody does that. Like, everybody wants to win. Boozer's also the youngest of the three. Yeah, they're all young. I think he just turned 18 like a month ago, right? Boozer on draft night, he'll be 18.9 years old. Both Peterson and Dybantsa will be around 19.4. So they're all young. Like that's I don't think that's like a huge separator, but it's worth something that he's been dominating from such a young age, especially when like Dybantsa and Peterson were both good earlier in their careers, but they weren't the level of Boozer. I think people sometimes use that as a negative. Like he peaked early, but I think that's squarely a positive for me. Like the fact that he was dominating from so early on, and he still developed his game since then. It's not like he's the same player as he was as a 15-year-old. Yeah, but you can peak early, and it could be a negative. Like Amani Bates is probably the go-to example of that recently. But like
it doesn't have to be a negative, to your point. Like you can be the best player in your class the whole way, and that's not a bad thing. You just happen to get there first. I'm sure. Look, it doesn't hurt that his dad was an NBA player, and like if you grow up in the life, like you learn the game at a different level than other guys might. Like some of the feel stuff, it's not surprising. Like not every NBA player's son is like that, but like there are some inherent advantages when your dad was a good NBA player. Like, it's just what it is. You kind of see that
for sure.
So it's just brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute you actually want to go to a game with your friends or with your family? Maybe it's already game day and you actually realize suddenly that you actually want to be inside the building instead of at your house on your own couch. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. Gametime is the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without all the stress. With the money to actually save on tickets, you can splurge on food or drinks or merch, or even invite a bigger group of people to come with you to the actual event. At Gametime, they make it all possible for you by buying tickets. And honestly, make it very easy to buy those tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop closer to you get to the start of the game, and they have incredible last-minute deals and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying tickets with Gametime. They also have clear seat views across the board. You actually know what you'll be seeing before you actually get into the venue itself. You can take all the guesswork out of buying tickets with the folks at the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, use that account and create that account at Gametime and use that code. It's LOCKEDONNBA. That code is LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Okay, so that we've done kind of an overview of kind of the big three, right? And we could go forever. I won't make you do that because it'll be a long podcast. But I have to ask the very obvious next question is, who is the fourth guy? And I think there's probably a big jump from what we just talked about. There's a big gap. That's what I keep hearing from everybody that I trust. Is there a clear guy that you would say, this is my fourth? Is there a guy, if the answer to that is no, is there someone that you could maybe see if things go perfectly well in the next year, maybe could be in the top tier by the end of the year? Is there someone like that?
For me, it's Nate Ament, 6'10" forward going to Tennessee. I think he's probably the consensus guy if there is one. I'll look up like an ESPN mock.
I think he was 4 for Vicini. I think he was 4 on the latest NBA ESPN one. I'll find it for you, but I think he was 4th.
I assume so, and
he was 4th.
Yeah, he was 4th. I do agree with that at the moment. I think the gap between Ament and 5th is significantly smaller than the gap between him and 3rd. I'll say that. So people don't like him because he's really skinny and he's not really a creator on the ball. Like he has some interior scoring issues, but 6'10", ridiculous shooter off of movement, off the dribble, improving passer. He has the kind of movement skill and coordination I love for guys to improve as drivers and creators. Like he's so flexible. He's so good at getting, bending low and getting below even shorter defenders. And he's an incredible defensive prospect too. He honestly had one of the best defensive performances I've seen of anyone against Darryn Peterson when they played this year. I think Darren sold 31 in that game, but he had maybe 4 or 5 possessions late in the fourth quarter that were stops or turnovers on Peterson. So long, fluid, and explosive laterally for a guy who's really skinny, who he doesn't need to add a ton of muscle, but there are few programs who I trust more with that than Tennessee.
Well, I was actually going to ask that question because we talked about Kansas earlier with Darryn Peterson. It's kind of an odd choice, not a terrible one. My first thought when I saw a top 5 prospect going to Tennessee was are you sure you want to go to Tennessee as a top 5 prospect? And I love Tennessee as a college basketball team. They're gritty and they guard and they're physical, but not a prospect factory. But if he'll defend, which you just laid out, then I think it'll be fine. My concern at Tennessee would be if the guy couldn't defend, because Rick Barnes would be nope, you're not going to play.
I mean, people, I think, probably correctly assume he's going to have a higher creation load than he maybe should, or they won't use him nearly as much as.
Well, I was going to say that. My guess would be that he has too small of an overall.
They have Jacoby Gillespie's all right, Amari Abrams solid. They have some, but it's just not an. It's Tennessee.
It's Tennessee.
It's Tennessee, but they don't have Dalton Connect or Chaz Lanier. They have older transfers, but I don't think either of them are as dynamic of scorers as those guys. Maybe Jacoby Gillespie or something like that will prove me wrong, but it's definitely not as clean of a situation as the top 3, no doubt. but he is really good. I think has a ton of potential. Again, like your Jabari Smith, Ace Bailey type two-way forward. And I think Ament is better than both of those guys at the same stage, in my opinion, at least in a lot of ways. And especially, in terms of decision making and feel, probably not as good as like an isolation creators either of those guys, but I think that's fine. Considering
and look,
he is the player.
Not to be Debbie Downer to Hawks folks, the Hawks are probably still more likely to be in this kind of range than they're on the top three. Like they might get lucky to be in the top three. Maybe the Pelicans fall off a cliff, all those things. But I would, if I was a Hawks fan, would be trying to watch these guys that are like mid-lottery prospects.
I think Ament is like a traditional Travis Schlenk guy, like long.
Oh, Travis. I miss Travis sometimes. Okay, so he's the other guy, honestly, that I was confident you were going to say. And then it gets to be a lot less certain for, I think, everyone. But that's, by the way, that's very natural. Like, they haven't played college games yet. These guys, I mean, high school film matters. EYBL film matters. The people that do this at the highest level, I'm not including myself in that. I'm including you in that. It matters. You got to start watching these guys before they go to college. I always say that. And even when we get to the end of the college process, which is backwards, I always try to watch high school for a lot of guys that I'm trying to look at because it all matters to me. With that said, there's a lot of uncertainty in August before their freshman season. It's just the way it is. Do you have a favorite guy? Like, do you have like who's Ben's guy? That's not Peterson. Who's Ben's current guy? That's like you feel like you're higher on. Because you usually have somebody that you just love. You're like, that's my guy or whatever. Maybe it's just Peterson this year. I don't know.
Honestly, like I don't. At the moment, I mean, like Phylon, but that's nothing new. Like that's not a new opinion.
It's not. I mean, I've seen some crazy takes about is it Michael Brown? Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, they talk about Michael Brown.
People have.
He's good.
There was a wave this summer of people like having him in that top group that I was seeing. I was like, oh,
he had an awesome FIBA. He had a good like McDonald's Jordan Brand circuit. I think I don't remember Jordan. He was definitely good in the McDonald's games. I think people really pushed him up because of that. I think he's good. I have him definitely in my top 10. Probably higher than that a little bit. He's one of my. I think the next three guys for me after Ament, or the next couple guys are Jaden Quaintance, who's going to Kentucky. Kareem Lopez, who plays in the NBL, Brown. I guess next couple more guards, Phylon, and then Caleb Wilson, who's going to UNC. And then Elijah Arenas was also in there, but I mean, I don't know what's going to be. I assume he's not going to enter the next draft because he tore his meniscus or something recently.
By the way, wasn't so Jaden Quintus was at Arizona State?
Yeah.
Like that's a weird one where it's
he was on the Kyra Lewis path where
he's freshman age, but he already has a year of college.
Yeah, he's like younger than most of these guys. He's like around the same age as Boozer. And he played college basketball last year and was really good in a lot of ways. He's an interesting one because he's like he's a truly like special rim protector prospect, but he's also like 6'9", 6'10" without shoes, I think. So it's always hard to project those guys as like locked in fives, but he is a pretty absurd defensive player. Like not only his shot blocking and his rim protection, but also his mobility, his ability to switch out onto guards. Like he's not perfect and he has a lot of technical room to improve for sure, but he is a really, really impressive defensive prospect. Like he had a 9.8% block rate this year, which was one of the best in the country, especially among.
And that's in the Big 12. Like, and the Big 12 is a good league.
As a 17-year-old, like that's wild.
Crazy. Yeah, I'll go ahead and tell you that right now, Ben. I'm going to like him more than everybody else is going to like him.
The main issue with Quaintance is combined with his size, his shooting projection is extremely murky. Wasn't a shooter in high school. Are you familiar with any of his shooting numbers?
They're very bad. I know that much. I don't know beyond that. I think
last year he shot 18.8% from three. He shot 32 threes. He shot 47.9% from the free throw line.
Here's the take for you, Ben. I'm very modern in the way I approach basketball. People know that. He just shouldn't shoot threes then. Like it's okay. Not everybody has to shoot. Not everybody has to shoot.
I mean, he's. I think we'll talk about it in a second. But like his driving potential is so impressive. This is an old tweet I did where, he made 21 shots away from the basket last year. 6'9" or shorter, according to Bart Torvik, drafted with a free throw percent below 50. Tristan Thompson, Aaron Gordon, and Royce White.
I mean, that's not bad company. I mean,
potential pathway. I mean, again, just like these freaky forward size guys with true like all defense potential. And then Quainton's like, I think if you like just showed somebody a highlight of their 10 best plays from the season, I think you could reasonably conclude that Quainton's is the best player in the class. Like,
I wonder what he'll measure, like standing reach and wingspan.
Very cute. I think he's listed 7'5" wingspan, which is obviously great.
If that's real, then I'd be a lot less worried.
I mean, he'll legitimately like drive past players without a screen and dunk in the half court, and like he'll like be a hub big and throw a backdoor pass.
I mean, if you could do all that and defend the way he seems to be able to defend, like I don't care if you
can shoot.
Obviously, it would be nice if you can shoot, but
it's also flash based at this stage.
Sure.
Though I think he's another one in a phenomenal situation. Mark Pope is an assist to turnover farm. It just really is.
Mark Pope is good for prospect.
It is hilarious how much better everyone looks as a passer when you're playing in Mark Pope's offense. I think Quainton should be the same. Like they'll probably use him as a hub, similar to what they did with guys like Amari Williams or Andrew Carr.
Yep, and Hawks summer league guy who actually didn't play because he got hurt. Lamont Butler was there and looked a lot better at Kentucky than he did offensively.
Like that.
I'd say
that Kentucky team's gonna be good. They're gonna be deep, and I think Quainton's like gonna wreck on defense. Offensively, like could imagine a world where he's scoring crazy efficiently, improves enough as a passer. Maybe he gets like 60s as a free throw shooter.
That 48 is not going to work for most guys.
And then you can feel it. Like, I don't value free throw shooting that much as a predictive measure, but like, I think it's at its most powerful when it's either really outlier good or really outlier bad.
And it's a good indicator, especially when it's outlier bad. It can tell you that the guy's just not going to be able to shoot. Like, that's just what it's going to be. Like, I'll use my example that we've used before. Clint Capella was a terrible free throw shooter. He improved at it, but it was never going to be good, and he obviously had zero potential to shoot at any point. He just wasn't going to be able to shoot. By the way, he had pretty similar measurements to what you just laid out to Quainton's. Young Capella before he got older, like was that kind of he was twitchy athlete, 6'9", 6'10", 7'4" wingspan, like that kind of similar size, playing center.
I mean, he's truly just like go watch highlights of this guy. Like it's just fun. It's just cool to watch him move around the court and play. I mean, he's one of my guys in terms of just like I really enjoy watching him, and he's been a favorite of mine to watch over the last couple years that I've been tracking him since he was like, and he was always a guy who played up age groups. Like he always played against older players,
which I tend to like that, honestly.
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing.
Good.
I think he's one of the 3 or 4 I'd consider the 5th guy, or maybe 4th.
I was going to ask you about returners. Obviously, he is one. Quainton's is one. You mentioned already LeBaron Philon, who we discussed at length about last year's draft, and he pulled out at the very end and went back to school. Is he like a top 10-ish guy? Is he a lottery pick in this draft right now?
Probably. I did quickly want to talk about Kareem Lopez.
Free. Oh, yeah, from New Zealand, right?
He's Mexican,
but he's playing in the NBL. Sorry.
He plays in the NBL for the New Zealand Breakers. He was pretty unbelievable. As a 18-year-old, he's going to be another one of the youngest players in the draft. He's going to be 19.2 on draft night. 6'8", listed 6'8", 220, averaged like 15 points a game per 36 minutes last year, and was truly like a hilariously dominant small sample size driver last year, where, it's always kind of risky with these small sample size players in pro leagues who, some of them scale up and some of them don't. But talking back to those, I recently mentioned those driving numbers where Lopez, out of those 33 prospects I did, so kind of like my top 30-ish, his driving points per possession, first by a mile. His driving true shooting, first by a mile. He has a free throw rate on. Want to guess his free throw rate on drives? And for comparison, Boozer was at 98. AJ Dybantsa was at 70. And Peterson was at a respectable but not eye-popping 44%.
I mean, is it absurd? Like, I don't know, 80?
It's 1.3%. 1.3. 130%.
That is absurd. Okay.
And again, probably some small sample size some small sample size shenanigans. It was only 46 driving possessions, so that's obviously going to go down somewhat, but like his combination of like athleticism but also polish and skill are really impressive. Like
I was going to ask this question cuz NBL like historically is known as this like older physical league, and for him to be able to like even play real minutes at what was he 17 last year?
Pretty good, I think. He
not a small thing.
Held his own and looked the part, but like he has like a bunch of this like decel creation. He'll do slow steps. He'll step through and hit touch shots. I feel like most of the guys who are like that are slow and unathletic.
True.
But Lopez is not that way. He is explosive. He will dunk in the half court. Like he is a very impressive driver. I think statistically, at least based on their last season, is easily the most impressive. But of course, like he shot 66% at the rim in the half court last year, which is again small sample but unbelievable. And I think he has a good enough handle where his handle is solid now. Like his ball control isn't great, but there are legit flashes of him like stringing together moves and being deceptive and creative with his handle and like playing off 2 feet and powering through guys. So I just think that combination of being really, really polished for a guy his age, but also having a ton of room to grow physically, that's a really impressive proposition. And it's someone who I think could definitely break out and develop. Like he's not like an S tier athlete by any means, but he's definitely an NBA athlete. He's got a high motor. He's a good rebounder. He's not like an incredible passer, and the shooting projection is definitely a projection. Like there are moments where he's a willing shooter. He shoots off the move a little bit, but not crazy shooting numbers. He makes a lot of mistakes on defense. He very much looked like an 18-year-old on defense. I'll say that. But again, not something I'm so worried about for someone as athletic and physically impressive as him. So he's the guy who I could see myself. I could talk myself into probably as high as 4 if he starts the season really well.
That's legit. I look forward to watching him, and the Hawks, it's the Hawks podcast, the Hawks are not afraid to look at the NBL. Like they will look at the NBL. They brought a couple guys over for Summer League that are older, established Australian guys, Dyson connection. We have to say the words Dash Daniels on this podcast because Hawks fans will get mad at me if I don't ask you about Dash Daniels.
No, fuck Dash. I have good things to say about Dash Daniels.
Not everyone does. I think there's a split on him, which is fine. Like he's obviously he had some bad FIBA U19 moments from what I was able to see. People were kind of turning on him during that moment of the summer.
And you guys know how old Dash Daniel is today?
Isn't he still 18?
He's 17.
Yeah, I mean he
won't turn 18 until December.
And so he's basically as young as you can be in this class, like the Cooper level young.
Was he? Yeah, he is. I think the youngest player in the class, at least that I know at this point.
That would make sense. Obviously, he's Dyson's brother. If people didn't know this somehow, he's Dyson's brother. And similar to Dyson, profiles as a defensive wrecking ball. What do you? I mean, I'll defer to you. I've seen him play more than the rest of these guys because he's Dyson's brother, so I'm keeping close tabs on him. But what's the MO right now on Dash?
He was very rough in FIBA. There's no kind of getting around that. But he was one of the youngest players in the event. And I think his defense was quite solid as it usually is. Average a steal per game for like a pretty good Australia team with some other like legit high major prospects as well. Though I think Dash's combination of youth, like similar to his brother, just like freaky mover at the point of attack, ability to like mirror and be fluid. And he's like a good like 6'4", 6'5", definitely not as big as Dyson. Hopefully he can grow some more, which would definitely help. But defense again, hand usage, lateral quickness, offense is just pretty brutal at this point. Like he can't really dribble, he can't really shoot at this point. He averaged during the tournament, he averaged 7 points per game on 30% field on not 30. Sorry. He averaged 8.1 points per game on 28.8% shooting from the floor. Actually made his threes, but 52% from the line. positive assist turnover ratio, but like just like he really is a 0 as a scorer at this point. But I think that's honestly not like so concerning because he has touch. He's a pretty good athlete. I think he has the movement skills to become at least passable, and I think he has a lot of defensive upside as well. He's another one who I'm really excited to see this year in the NBL because he hasn't played in like the big NBL before. So
yeah, he's still
I think people love to react at small samples, especially
course.
in the summer.
Well,
I think FIBA is maybe the most useless, not useless. I don't want to say useless. It's not useless. One of the least translatable competition levels to me in terms of.
Well, and also, how do I say this? I think because he has a cool name and he's Dyson's brother, he probably got more attention than most guys would have gotten during FIBA. Does that seem fair to say?
For sure. And then people will push back against that,
right.
Reactively.
So, and I get it. I'm not saying he's some definitely lottery prospect or whatever, but like he has stuff that you would be intrigued by. I would remind people, Dyson, I know Dyson is obviously a defense first player in the NBA. Dyson was a better offensive player at this stage than Dash it currently is, I think.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Because he was more of a point guard. Dyson came up as it was like more of a point guard. Like when he was G League Ignite, he was like going to build us that way. And I don't know. It doesn't matter. But Dash is a real just to say this out loud, Dash is a real prospect though. Like it's not like Kobe Johnson. I don't mean that in a negative way, but Jalen's brother Kobe is not really that kind of prospect. He just is Jalen's brother.
Oh, I love Kobe Johnson.
No, he's a prospect, but he's not a lottery. He's not lottery talent in the way that Dash might be.
Dash could be. Like I said, like I have in my lottery tentatively. Could easily see him falling out of that quickly, but could also see him surprising people early on.
And just to say this out loud, even when you're Ben Pfeifer and you're very smart, guys fall out and come in. Like this is what I'm trying to. I don't want to overemphasize this, but like the variability in August before the season, like a lot of these guys are going to fall.
Preseason boards are just
throwing
shit at the wall. See what sticks.
I'm not trying to give you an out, but that's just the reality.
I'm trying to take an out. So
no, you should. I'm just saying, like I've been doing this for a long time, semi to the level, not like you do, but following stuff for a long time, and like for every name a great like there's Cliff Alexander, and like there's guys that like we're definitely going to like be top 5 picks, and then they don't do that. There you go. All right, before we get out of here, returners, LeBaron Philon. Who else is on this list? Bennett Sturts, maybe. Like who else? Like people that follow college basketball. Who they may know?
It's a weird returner class. I have serious questions about all of them. I don't really consider Quaintance because I think he's on such a different timeline. Wasn't even draft eligible last year.
Yeah, he's so young that I honestly forgot that he.
I think of him as
college, but
like I don't bucket. If you want to bucket him with the returners, I think he's very clearly the best returning player in the class. Like, and there's a big gap between whoever number 2 is. Probably would still have Philon.
I was gonna say you're gonna say Philon. I know you are.
Try not to let my recency bias because the last game I charted the Philon, he was a Mizzou game where he got eaten alive by my guy Anthony Robinson, who I will mention in a second. Like. Philon just needs to improve as an athlete. He needs to add more bulk, which like is an easy thing to suggest, but hard to know, right? Until we see it on the court. But like again, just betting on a guy who's so quick, great handle, high feel player. I think there's real defensive upside, even though his defense at the moment can be very up or down. My main issue with him is like he doesn't look at the rim sometimes on tries. And he's a very, very good passer, but I don't think he's like high-end special. So I feel like I am even getting a little lower on him, and I don't want to just like recency bias myself because the last game I watched of him was bad. So I'm not doing that. I'm trying to do that. But
understood.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like I'd say there's what? Sorry, let me count this really quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd say there's like five-ish returners who I feel pretty good about being first round picks, or at least have like the most upside to be. And those are one of them in, I think all these guys that have in the same tier. Thomas Hauk on that Florida team. He was awesome last year.
He was very good in the tournament in a way that Alex Condon was not. You remember when Alex Condon was having the moment where it was like Alex Condon, and then he was very bad down the stretch.
It was tough for my agendas. 6'8", 6'9" forward, promising shooting projection, and just like already a really impressive interior scorer, impressive driving flashes, great feel for the game, incredible versatile defender, like did it throughout the tournament. one of the best like big 3-and-D forward bets in the class. So I think he's going to be an easy one to sell people on. I don't think people are going to complain.
He's kind of old. That's the only thing. I think he's gonna be 22 when the draft happens.
Yeah, he's going to be
not like age.
22.9, which again, definitely, but like it's younger than like Neat Clifford was, who I loved anyway.
That's true.
But so him, I'd say the other four, him, Bennett Sturtz, who went to Iowa, another player that people were hopefully turned on to in the playoffs. But I'm going to keep mentioning this driving sheet. Bennett Sturtz last season at Drake, I think he ran the most pick and rolls of anyone in the entire country. It's like he played basically 40 minutes a game every single game and was on the ball almost all the time.
All the time. Yeah.
An unbelievable feat. And he's probably going to do a similar thing at Iowa. Despite 128 total drives, the second most of anyone I tracked aside from Dybantsa, who had 193, he turned the ball over on 1.6% of those. That is unbelievable. Like his handle, his pace, his feel, his deception. I think he's a pretty good athlete. He's not a great athlete by any means, but definitely explosive enough, I think, to get to his spots. Really impressive shooting profile. And I'm just going to bet on the guy who shoots floater threes to
I really enjoy him
in the tournament in clutch moments and hits them. He shot 72.1% at the rim last year as a 6'4-ish, 6'3-ish guard without a plus wingspan, and who only dunked the ball 12 times, and most of those were in transition. So Sturtz, some defensive questions. I think has some high-level advantage creation questions against great defenders without screens, but he is a pick-and-roll wizard who has unmatched stamina and conditioning and is going to be a good shooter and I think can be a solid defender. So like he's someone who, again, I have questions with, and I could imagine a world where like he's just not as efficient scoring against competition, or maybe some of the creation limitations show up. But I could also imagine where he's just like, okay, yeah, I see it at Iowa. He's a top 10, top 7 pick. Lock it in. So it's him.
I like him.
Yeah. Him, and the other two who are probably less popular are Pat Ngongba, sophomore center at Duke. He was injured for a lot of his freshman season. Like incredibly decorated, accomplished high school player, skilled, talented, two-way big, who I think he had foot injuries. And that's one of the main things with Ngongba is that he's just always been injured, which sucks, especially for a big guy. But he is probably going to start for Duke this year at center, definitely going to play a lot more. He was really impressive in his flashes. Like he played some in the tournament for Duke and down the stretch when other guys were injured or out. And like, he really is like the small sample, like stat Twitter kind of darling type. Like he had a 10.5 BPM last year. That's hilarious. Like
that's crazy.
72.8% true shooting, 3.3 assisted turnover ratio, 51 free throw rate, 5.6% block rate, 2% steal rate. He shot 78.4% at the rim. Like I don't think he's as good as that necessarily suggests, but he is quite good. He's one of the strongest players I can remember watching. Like his base, it is impossible to move him. He's an incredible screener. He's impossible to like get post position on. But the thing with him is like he's also fluid with the ball. He's a great ball handler. He's a crazy quick decision maker. He has good touch. Like he's not like full center sized, and he has a lot of room to grow on defense. Like a lot of miscommunications, a lot of choppy footwork, inconsistent motor for sure. He very much is like a heel too. Like he'll like get under a guy's skin, and you'll see him do stuff like he'll be trash talking a guy, and then the other guy will take it too far, and he'll basically draw a technical and just be chirping. So, and I think I generally would view that as a positive trait. But he's someone who is just a really damn good player and is obviously going to get a huge spotlight because he plays for Duke. And then the last returner who I really like is Anthony Robinson. Not biased, but he is a Mizzou legend.
I was going to say from Missouri, notably.
But he is just such a unique player. He basically was Mizzou's, as a sophomore last year, he was basically Mizzou's nominal point guard, and he was also one of the best defensive players in the SEC as well. 6'3", 6'4", long, wiry, like crazy defensive playmaker. He had a 5.1% steal rate. constantly hawking on the ball, incredible lateral mover. Like definitely some like young player stuff. He's gonna be a junior this year, but he fouls a good amount, and he's not always like the best with his footwork, but he can definitely get better. And then most of these guys I think are pretty weird, weak offensive players. But Anthony Robinson shot 40% from three last year on low volume, only 4 attempts per 100, but 77.1% at the free throw line. Incredibly efficient mid-range shooter. His free throw rate 79.5. I think it was the second highest of any, if I remember correctly. I think it was like the second highest of any power conference guard last year, or like perimeter player. But I'm gonna double check this again right now. Just unbelievably physical, fast, strong player. And like he's a little stiff at times with the ball, but he does have some really impressive moments of live dribble creation. He was 8th in all of Power 5 in free throw rate, regardless of position. That's insane.
Wow.
But yeah, just like a lot of really positive indicators where, if you can see his 3-point volume we're like, his volume is low, but he's efficient. He has good indicators. Otherwise, he'll take and make some crazy difficult off dribble threes. And he just has this like deceptive handle, even if it's not super controlled at this point. He's great at getting downhill. He's a really good passer. He had a 2 assist to turnover ratio. Like I said, basically was Mizzou's nominal point guard for a lot of the time, despite some of his own like turnover stuff and unreliability. But he has so much potential as a two-way creator, and he's someone who I think like genuinely could break out and be like a top 10 pick. It wouldn't surprise me. And I am not always pro Mizzou prospects. Like I adore Kobe Brown. I love that guy to death, but I was floored when he went as high as he went.
You didn't see that one. No, it's funny. I get this. I didn't go to Michigan, but
I do thank the Clippers deeply for making that happen. I've gotten to see him live a couple times in person because of that. Like it was an awesome move for me personally.
Yeah, I get the same. People think I love every Michigan player, which is just like far from the truth. Like I was very low on Danny Wolf. I didn't like Jed Howard. Like I didn't like Tim Hardaway Jr. back in the day as a prospect. Like there's plenty of Michigan guys I don't like. Like you don't have to like every guy. But especially because I still kind of believe in Kobe Buffkin. So people are like, it's because he went to Michigan. I'm like, not really. Did you watch the way I talked about Danny Wolf last season? Like I didn't really. It's fine. Anyway, well Ben, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. We could go 2 hours. I'm not gonna. Number one, I get in trouble. Number two, you got things to do in your own life. You're doing this for me, and I appreciate it. Please plug what you got going on. I know you're like full-timing places now. You're YouTubing. Where can folks find all of your content on the internet?
As always, just hit up my Twitter at BJAPF_. My YouTube is just my name. I'm going to be ramping up the YouTube production because, like I said at the top, I've been out of town and I need to get back on my grind and get my YouTube views back up.
It's August. It's okay. It's August, man. You're allowed to take a break for a second.
August, but yeah, just going to be doing some like NBA preview content, a bunch of AAU high school stuff, some draft stuff. So just keep an eye out for all the stuff that I'm tweeting. If I'm tweeting, it's because I'm posting something I'm working on, which is a place that I'm proud to have arrived at.
Yeah, I'm kind of there too. I mean, other than Hawk stuff, other than that,
I think most people who work in sports media either go down like the route where you kind of tweet less and less about just random shit, or you're just like one of those people who's like always online.
Or you're just online. I am definitely tweeting less than I used to, and it's fine. Anyway, Ben, thanks you again.
So much. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. People should be following your work all year round. Not just draft. You do plenty more beyond the draft. Draft is what I usually tab you in to do on this podcast. But if you want to talk Hawks at any point, feel free. We could just talk about Hawks one day.
For sure. The Hawks are fascinating this year.
They are. As for everybody else, please subscribe to Locked On Hawks. Tell your friends, and we'll see you all next time.